When I say the word tiki cocktails, I guarantee it, you're automatically transported off to tropical climates, beaches, palm trees, all that kind of stuff. However, every once in a while, a recipe comes along and you try it and you go, ooh, that's pretty damn tasty. That would be an amazing kind of autumnal, wintry night, cold night kind of drink. Now, don't get me wrong, this little beauty, it does play amazingly well in the summer. But when the nights draw in, when it gets a little bit colder, this is the cocktail that immediately springs to mind. Now, when I say the words Nui Nui, I guarantee it, many of you have never, ever heard of it. And I'll be honest, in 28 years of bartending, up until about 3 or 4 years ago, I'd never heard of it either. But after I first made it, I fell in love with it and I've been playing and tinkering with it ever since. But you know, as far as history goes, this cocktail was invented in the 1930s by Don the Beachcomber, but brought to life, good old Beachbum Berry, brought to life by Beachbum Berry in Sippin Safari. And now you will see it in Smuggler's Cove as well. However, even though it's called the Nui Nui, in Smuggler's Cove, they've gone original and they call it the pupule. I think that's how you say it. You can see that on the close-up, the pupule. So in a couple of seconds, I'm going to show you how to make this beast of a tiki cocktail. But before I do, don't forget, I'm going to dissect this cocktail with loads of different rums. Because after all, the one thing we've learned over the last few weeks, last few months, is that your choice of rum really does matter when it comes to making rum cocktails. But then stay tuned to the end of the video because I've got 2 amazing little riffs, or 1 hack and 1 riff, to make this cocktail quicker or take it to the next level. And I promise you, they are delicious. So my kind of standard recipe for this, I'm going to talk you through it. I will explain the Bacardi in a second, but you know, this is kind of the go-to. Now I'm going to flash blend this because as I said, I've got like dodgy tender going on, so I can't really shake. You can shake. Shaking this cocktail is fine. I'm just going to flash blend this today. So let's go with this first. I'm going for a 60ml double bubble, category 4. Just think that, category 4 in Smuggler's Cove. So 60ml double bubble of Bacardi 4-year-old. In there. Now I'll do these first. So we've got lime juice. I'm going 22.5ml of lime juice, 22.5ml. So this is US basically, what's the word? Proportions, if you like, 22.5ml instead of the UK measurements. Proportions, is that the right word? Whatever. 22.5ml of orange juice, 3/4 of an ounce. Now, this is the bit I need to explain. I'm upping, when you see the recipes sort of flying around Smuggler's Cove, Beach Bum, on the internet, I'm upping these slightly because I have got, as you can sort of see, I have got sort of a different product. So instead of 7.5ml, I'm going 10ml, but don't think it's sweeter. So I'm going 10ml of vanilla syrup. We are also going 10ml of cinnamon syrup in here. So Monin, you know, you can't beat Monin for this sort of stuff. Now, this is why, because I don't actually use All Spice Dram, because I love these. These tiki bitters smash it for me, okay? And I've always got these bitters. I'm never not going to have these bitters. So when I've got these bitters, they're sort of cinnamon, allspice, clove in the bitters. They do replicate exactly the same sort of profile that you get from the All Spice Dram. And I'm never not going to have these. So I've never bothered, it's tucked away. I've never bothered replenish the allspice bottle, pimento dram that I've got, because I've always got these bitters. So what I'm going to do, and this bottle's nearly bottle kill, he says, there we go. I'm going to do 1, and I just want a slight bit more than that. Oh, that's what I wanted in the first place. There we go. I'm just going that in the dashes of that. All Spice Dram has got a little bit of sweetness to it. Not much, but a little bit of sweetness. That's why I've upped those. And the tiki bitters are phenomenal. And I'm just going to do a dash, which would be 2 of these. But if you've got a bottle of Angostura, it'd be kind of 1 of these, of Angostura bitters. Okay, there we go. So, crushed ice, couple of agitated cubes, and flash blend. And then just to serve up, I've got my baked bean can, my glass baked bean can. I kind of like this for a Nui Nui. Just kind of dump that all in there. As I say, you can, this is a shaken cocktail. You know, I just can't shake at the moment. And just going to crown this with a bit of crushed ice. Magic. And then garnish wise, I've got a couple of pineapple fronds out the freezer. And dehydrated orange. Now that's why I love those tiki, those allspice bitters, wherever I put them. Because you do not for 1 minute lose what this cocktail is all about. And it is those kind of allspice bitters that come through. Cinnamon, clove, allspice, all that sort of stuff. You just don't lose it. Those bitters give you that. You don't lose the sweetness because you haven't got the pimento dram. You've upped the ratios of the vanilla and the cinnamon syrup. It's delicious. As I've said, I call it this wintry kind of tiki cocktail. But oh my God, the flavours in this are amazing. I'm at the time in my life where I really can't handle too much sugar or too much fizziness in my drinks. But I still really do love those sort of fun and fruity cocktails from time to time. I'm just a bit too lazy, so I really do love a rum highball. So over the last couple of years, I've had to go on the search for alternative mixes because my old favourites literally just give me too much gas and I start burping. So I was really happy when I stumbled across these guys, Stratford Soda. There's currently 4 in the range. They are really low in sugar, they are low in carbonation, but they don't compromise on taste because they are made with real fruit juice. I mean, I fell in love with these over a year ago and still to this day, I cannot decide which one is my favourite. Today, while filming, I'm drinking the citrus, which I affectionately call a long daiquiri. That's exactly what it is, a long daiquiri. I've just paired it with what a decent white rum, a really good white rum, because I like my white rum daiquiris. But as you'll see, we've got the tropical down here, which is pineapple and coconut. We've got the spiced, which is cinnamon and ginger. We've got the hedgerow, which has got blackcurrant juice in it, but blackberry and rose. And then we've got the citrus. So if you want to try these little beauties for yourself, I'm giving you the opportunity to get 50% off your first order, whether that's on taster packs or party packs. There's a link in the description below, and that will give you that 50% off, and it will auto populate at the checkout page. All right, minus your postage and packaging, of course, there. So 50% off using the link in the description below. So what are you waiting for? If you're in the UK, go and order some today and try them. I promise you, you won't regret it. Right. Back to the video. So let's just very quickly talk about the rum. Why have I used Bacardi 4-year-old in this? Well, look, it depends how you read it, but I do see a very slight conflict between Smuggler's Cove and Beachbum's Sippin Safari in there, of the kind of rum that it's called for. For example, if I'm going to reference Sippin Safari, Beachbum, obviously, his whole thing is interpreting Trader Vic's and Don Beach's recipes, Don the Beachcomber. He calls for that for an amber Virgin Islands rum. Now, to me, amber does kind of class as a young-ish rum. And Virgin Islands, well, Virgin Islands to me is Cruzan. Now, we don't get Cruzan in the UK. It's not a UK imported rum. So therefore, I've gone kind of Bacardi. Whereas Smuggler's Cove does say out and out category 4, which is an aged column still rum. Now, aged, I've gone Bacardi because it's the 4-year-old. But interestingly, Cruzan, if we're going Virgin Islands, Cruzan do have a rum in this category. I wouldn't call it an amber rum, but Cruzan do have like an 8 to 12-year-old rum. Now, I'm pretty much guaranteeing that Don Beach wouldn't have used the 8 to 12-year-old rum in this. I'm guessing he would have used a lighter column still Cruzan rum in this, like the gold rum, the amber rum, which I'm loosely associating would be 2, 3, maybe 4-year-old. That is why I picked Bacardi 4. Right, so rum dissection time. Now, before I get stuck into this, don't forget on Steve the Barman Extra, there will be the plantation rums and the spiced rums and kind of debunking, dissection, whatever you want to call it. So hop over to that video if you love your plantation rums, if you love your spiced and flavoured rums, because we're going to kind of debunk this cocktail with that. But on to this video. Now, I'm fully aware, I know in my head that I have to cut this down from 14 to 12 because they just don't fit. I'm pretty much, even though this is pre-editing, I'm pretty much guaranteeing there's a few rums not even on here yet. So let's just narrow it down straight away. Yes, I've got the Woods 100 out here straight away. That can go. That is shockingly terrible, and I generally wouldn't drink it again. So that can go. We can get the Clarin in. Smith & Cross, interestingly, for me, doesn't work in this cocktail. And it was no, you know, it's not because it's down the end there. I was expecting this to do really, really well. And I just don't really like it. So the Smith & Cross has gone as well for me. Not a fan of that. The next, I'm going to do two very quick ones here as well. Clarin. It's nice. I know it's going to have a lot of fans, but the Clarin for me, again, doesn't really cut it. And the next one I'm going to cut, interestingly, is, if I've got room, there we go, is the Worthy 109. I do like it. If that original is, oh, let's see, I really do like it. That original for me, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I prefer that to that. That's how I've scored it. So I prefer that. So if that's an 8 out of 10, the Worthy's really nice, but can only be like a 7 at best out of 10. So based on the rest of these I would confidently sort of put equal, if not better, to that Bacardi 4-year-old. And that's really got me, because I don't really want to put that down. The Worthy's really nice. The Bacardi 4, I think what it is for me, the reason why I love that Bacardi 4 is the whole round balance of the cocktail just works. The rum doesn't punch out. The spices don't punch out. The juice doesn't punch out. It's just a rounded cocktail. Really, really rounded. Whereas for this, for me, the Worthy 109, it's rum and then everything else. It's not a rounded cocktail. It's delicious, but I know a few of you would struggle with that, because I wouldn't have a second one of those, but I probably would have a second and third one of those. However, those of you Smuggler's Cove devotees, the whole category 4, you will instantly pick, there's, where are we? There? I think they are the category 4s. You know. Now I'm going to put a bombshell here, because I'm struggling to narrow it down any further in this. All of these rums left here give you something different to the cocktail, but they are all equally, I was going to say delicious, but do you know what? Oh, this is a struggle. So I think this is going to be a first for me in this video, because I'm going to narrow one more down. I'm going to get rid of one more, and that's the Rum Bar Gold. I mean, as I say, if that's an 8 out of 10, that's like 7.5, 7.6, 7.7. That's really, really good. Really, really good. But I think I'm enjoying these others just as well. Now, if you want me to narrow this down any further, I genuinely can't. I genuinely can't. But I don't want you to think that they are all the same tasting cocktails. I promise you, there is a huge gulfing difference in taste between all of them. I just can't pick which one I love the best. I mean, let's just try and break it down a second. The Rose Mullion Gold, pot still, Cornish. What I said earlier, that nothing in the cocktail punches out. The rum is balanced with the fruit, which is balanced with the spice, which is balanced with the citrus. It's just a rounded cocktail. It's a beautifully rounded cocktail. Delicious. Let's go down here. The El Dorado 8. The rum sort of does punch out a little bit. The Demerara vibes in there. But it is still equally as balanced with the fruit, with the spice and all that, and it is delicious. It is absolutely delicious. Even the Grand Añejo, the Barcello, really surprised me. It's a really rounded cocktail, completely different tasting to those two, completely and utterly different tasting, but it's so rounded. And I promise you, this is so tough. We are literally talking, you know, as I say, 8 out of 10, potentially now 9 out of 10. This is so difficult, but if I'm going to pick 2 out-and-out favourites, if my life depended on it, I would go the Angostura 19 and the Boutique Signature No. 2. There's just something about those two that I keep coming back to. So they have to be my 10 out of 10s. But I promise you, these are 9.5s, 9.6s, 9.7s. I mean, the Santiago de Cuba 8-year-old. Flipping delicious. Absolutely amazing. But very different to the Bacardi 8-year-old. Very different, but it's so good. This cocktail just works off the rum. The one thing I didn't do with this was the white rums, because I think the character of this cocktail does need that sort of aged rum, barrel aging to it. But this is the biggest, this is the most amount of splinters I've had from a video, because what have we got here? 4, 8, 9, 9. I genuinely would struggle to narrow it down. I am going to pick those two as my favourites, the Angostura in 1919 and the Signature number 2. But wow, what a cocktail this is. If you've made the Nui Nui, what rum do you swear by? And I can't actually wait. I generally can't wait, because I'm going to change shirts to do the plantation video after this and the spiced rums, because the plantation will give me a not better, but a different sort of viewpoint on this. Right, bonus riff time. I've actually got 3 for you. I've got an extra bonus one because I've just thought of something while I was filming this. So the first riff, I'm just going to be focusing on the 2 syrups, because you've seen the recipe, you've seen what I do, but I up the syrups just slightly, because I've just grabbed it down. I don't use the pimento dram. I don't bother, because I've got the Elemakule tiki bitters there. So that's kind of my replacement for that. Now with these sugar syrups, the vanilla and the cinnamon, I've got another little riff for this, because I'm going to bring out one of my favourite syrups from Monin. I would personally keep, I'm going to get rid of the cinnamon, I would keep the vanilla, and instead of 10ml and 10ml, the riff for this, I'm going to bring this down to 5ml for the vanilla, but then bring out Monin's Winter Spice to play and up that to 15ml. Now, this is phenomenal. You can sort of see the spices that goes into there. There's chili, there is cinnamon, there is clove, there is nutmeg. If you do not like that sort of allspice, heavy clove influence from these tiki bitters or the pimento dram, what you can actually do is get a dialed back version just purely using the Monin Winter Spice. It does have a little bit of clove in there, it does have a little bit of cinnamon, but it's not overly spicy, but it has this nice warming sort of spice level to it. So I think that is a perfect syrup for this. But if you want it not overly in your face, I would combine the 2. I would still do that 5ml of the vanilla, 15ml of that, and then a dash of that. That is a phenomenal. I've made that a few times and I really do love that. That is actually my go-to recipe for that. So that's riff number 1, throwing in the Monin Winter Spice. We love that. Riff number 2, and I'm actually just going to do one. I've got a very quick one ready to go here. What I've done, so instead of 10ml and 10ml of these 2, what I've actually done is 7.5ml, 7.5ml of that, because then what I want to do is add in Framboise de Ronce. I discovered this purely by accident, and this is absolutely lovely, and it has got the alcohol kick to it. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it. I'm actually going to add in, I've played about, I don't think 15ml is too much for this, to give you a nice berry vibe with that sort of the spices going on. So 15ml, cutting the 2 syrups back to 7.5ml, 7.5ml, so you've got 15 instead of 20, but then adding sort of 15ml of this in. So I'm just going to quickly flash blend that for 2 seconds, and then I've got a baked bean can with a handle this time for that. I might just get some crushed ice, more crushed ice out of the freezer, but oh no, that'll do. Just that sort of 15ml extra in there. What's this taste like? It's delicious. The berry vibes with those tiki bitters in there is absolutely phenomenal. I do really like that. Obviously, it's not a Nui Nui. It's like a berry twist on a Nui Nui. But just that 15ml Framboise de Ronce, delicious. Now, riff number 3, and I'm just going to sort of bring this in here because I've just, you know, it's a newish bottle to me. I've had it a couple of weeks now. I think what you could do with this is keep the vanilla in there. You get rid of your cinnamon or your winter spice. And so you do maybe 7.5 ml of your vanilla and then 15 ml of the Amaro, the Angostura. Because that, so it's kind of like you've got those aromatic bitters, but in a liqueur. And it's a very different kind of vibe to the pimento dram. So I'm going to have a play. This was completely bonus, and I thought about I might have a play with this over the next sort of few days to kind of come up with a perfect recipe. I might throw that out there on the Steve the Barman Extra channel, but I would love to make the Nui Nui with those Amaro Angostura de Amaro liqueur. If you want to see me debunk another cocktail, dive into that video right there.